Sebastian Münster's map of Asia from 1544 combines knowledge from Portuguese explorers from his time, the medieval knowledge of Marco Polo, and Ptolemy's worldview from Roman times. Let's jump right in. We begin our journey in East Asia, here labeled as India Superior, and most of this is based on the travel records of Marco Polo. For example, we have the label of Cathay, which stands for Northern China, and next to it the city of Quinsay, which is modern-day Hangzhou, still a very famous tourist destination in China. Back then, Marco Polo described it as the greatest city in the world. And Cathay is opposed to Manji, so northern China is opposed to southern China. So there was a big difference between those two back in the day that nowadays maybe we wouldn't come across so easily. And also we have here a mention of the 7,448 islands that Marco Polo described in his travels to Southeast Asia. In the southeast, we now have the perfect mix of Ptolemaic Old Roman names, Marco Polo's names, and Portuguese sailor names. We have the islands of spice, for example, Taranate, which was an island sultanate. We have Molucca, we have Porne, Timos, so these are all names that might sound familiar. Java Major and Java Minor are basically Lesser and Greater Java. Those are actually from Marco Polo. And we have the island of Taprobana. That is a name from Ptolemy. But right underneath Taprobana, we have the name Sumatra, which is the Portuguese name for that island. And that also clarifies the confusion, is Taprobana Sri Lanka or is it Sumatra? We also see the region names Regio Aurea and Regio Argenta, which are the regions of gold and regions of silver, and those are from Marco Polo. Malacca was an important Portuguese base in Southeast Asia, and Pego was an important trading partner for the Portuguese. Finally, in South Asia, this is now mostly Portuguese influence. We see the island of Ceylon, which is Sri Lanka. We also see 3 cities highlighted. Calicut, by the way, this is not Calcutta, an important trade hub. Then we see Canonoa and Goa, which were Portuguese settlements. We also see the 2 very important rivers, the Ganges or Ganges and the Indus. And we see the label Narsinga Regnum, which is way too far north. It should be really in South India. This is the Hindu Vijayanagara Empire. At the time of this map, the Vijayanagara Empire had been a powerful player in this region for 2 centuries, but it would succumb to its Muslim northern neighbors within 2 decades later. In the west, we see parts of Africa, Zanzibar, Madagascar, and Ethiopia. But a little bit up north, we see the region that would be at that point divided up between the Ottoman Empire, the Safavid Empire, and the Mughal Empire. You wouldn't see it, of course, in this map because none of them are mentioned. Instead, the map uses the old Ptolemaic names, namely Media, Persis, Parthia. Now, these are all nice from a historical point of view, but of course they don't inform the reader of anything going on at the time. In the far northwest, we see parts of Europe. We have Bothnia, which is a part of the Caspian Sea, Russia Alba, which is White Russia, that is Belarus, Moscovia, obviously Moscow. Then we have a mix of labels, some of them for regions, like Kolmogora, which is a trade region. Others about tribes. We have the Alani Scythe, then there are others like the Sacer, which are also kind of related to the Scythians, and these are more Ptolemaic Roman labels. The vertical mountain range in the east, called here Imaus Mons, should not be interpreted as the Ural Mountains. Ptolemy had a different term for that. It should rather be interpreted as the start of the Himalayas. And this leads us to our last region, surrounded by mountains. This is basically nowadays western China. So there's a bit of Himalayas, there's a bit of desert. There's a very important label here, Serica Regio in the southeast. Serica meaning silk, so this is the region of silk, and this references China. And of course there's then the Silk Road going from China to the west. There are also two important cities mentioned here, Isidon and Augatia. These were Silk Road hubs. Not everything is China though. The north is of course Siberia, and we see the label Nubius Lagos, which is probably the Baikal Lake. Alright, that was our walk through the map. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly found it interesting how the author mixed naming conventions from 3 different time periods all together in one map to fill all the gaps. Makes for an interesting mix. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next mapping session. Bye bye.